Kirkby-in-Ashfield, a small town deep in the surrounds of Nottinghamshire. We know a settlement was established here in Viking times. The name in Danish means place of a church. Just outside the then boundary of Sherwood Forest, the settlement would have relied on agriculture for its survival. An important development took place with the establishment of coal mining in the 19th century, which led to a very swift expansion of Kirkby as infrastructure increased to accommodate the miners and their families. It became known more recently for having one of the largest collieries in the United Kingdom, within a large railway complex distributing coal nationwide. The town has suddenly changed since the demise of all Nottinghamshire pits, but still shows evidence of the old town, which existed pre-coal. A notable feature in the old town is St Wilfrid's Church, sat on a site which has historically held a church since before 1066. The church then was held under protection of the first known Lord of Kirkby, Levenot, a Saxon thane who may have well used it as his own personal chapel. The hamlet of Kirkby is certainly noted in the Domesday Book of 1086. Amongst other details, it clearly mentions that there was a church and a priest and 2 mills within woodland pasture. From early times, the area abutting St Wilfrid's Church is recorded as holding a dwelling, referred to as a castle. It would have been a good defensive site for a castle, sitting at the top of a hill with clear views of surrounding area. The structure then could have been a simple Saxon hall, and changing through the ages as a possible motte and bailey, or of a fortified manor house. It is recorded in 1290 that on this site there was a large cultivated manor that stood near the old church. These manors, as referred to in history, were owned by families having important connections with William the Conqueror, such as the Stuteville family in 1139 and the Darcy family in 1340. It is also recorded that King Edward I visited and stayed at the manor in 1293. In 1570, the castle and site came into the ownership of Sir Charles Cavendish and continued to be owned by his descendants well into the 20th century. In 2024, Kirkby and District Archaeological Group received a grant that enabled them to employ experts and equipment for a project designed to uncover more information about the seemingly lost building of Kirkby Castle.
The reason why we're here is that for many generations people have understood that there was once a castle on this side, or perhaps a fortified manor house. It appears on some of the old maps, but what we want to do is to try and find out exactly what was here. And what we've done is obtain money to employ the services of professional archaeologists and geophysicists to operate some equipment for us and to show us what might be under the ground. So this equipment can detect foundations of old buildings, or if there was ditches dug and filled in once again. It's quite exciting. We've had people volunteering to work alongside these professionals and learn new skills with it. And as the project goes along over these few days, we are actually finding some of the old foundations and starting to map them out. So we're getting really excited, and hopefully by the time the project's completed, we'll be able to have the professionals show us exactly what they discovered and where the foundations of this castle or manor house once stood.
The archaeological group have organised an exhibition on the site where the public were invited and encouraged to learn about the history sitting under their feet.
Yeah.
Anything like that?
Oh yes, possibly what it might have started out as a wooden mott and bailey.
Yeah.
But that would have been replaced with something more of this. We know that it was about 100 foot long, which is perhaps similar to this property. And that's the main hall, but there was also 2 other long chambers which might have run along the side of it. We know that there was a kitchen, which might be something like this, tagged onto the end. And we know that it was made of stone, and that part of the roof was tiled and part was thatched. And all this is recorded in some of the 14th century documents that that's been discovered in the archive office.
Completed all this geophys. Will it sort of prove what you've just said there? Will it prove or disprove what it actually looked like?
Right. We don't know what it actually looked like above ground. We can only see what the planned shape of it would have been over there. Exactly. But we might never know what it actually looked like visually. So we just have to go by other contemporary buildings that have still survived and think, well, if that one over in, let's say, Lincolnshire looked like that, then probably ours looks similar to it as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a pleasure.
Thank you.
There is no doubt that the use of this contraption, nicknamed Meg, properly known as a magnetometer, will make a major contribution to our knowledge of this site.
It's pretty cool, so we can kind of toggle it and look at like time slices, which is pretty cool. It's on what we call a jetpack. We basically call it that because we wear it on our backs most of the time. These 4 white sensors are going to be our most important part. So they're basically going to send waves down into the ground and they'll pop back up, give us data that looks a bit like this. So this is all grayscale. We've mashed some data together from a couple of sites so you can see kind of outlines of what would have been like Roman houses or maybe round ditches, round burrows, things like that. So basically what we're looking for is anything that looks unnatural. So anything that's like perfectly circular or pretty straight and square, that's the stuff we're going to be looking for with this. The sensors, once it's all turned on, are going to pick up all the data. We do 3 lithium batteries in here, and then they're connected to the data logger, which stores all our data, and then that'll store it on there basically forever until we wipe it. And then the screen is basically just to go on and off. So what we do is we'd start at a traverse, which is just a line down. We'd start at the beginning, make sure it's all powered up, turn it on, walk or quad all the way to the end, and then stop it, and then that's going to pick up all the data for that line. So yeah, the main way we do it is like we'll just carry it on our back. So we've attached a backpack here, and then you just kind of, it's quite small because of kids, but you put it on, and then these arms would come down so you could see your screen when to start and stop, and then the phone here would tell you how to stay on the lines, and you'd basically just walk. It's about 10 kilos, so it's not terribly heavy. We switch about every half an hour. But yeah, you'd want to make sure all the sensors are straight and you're completely like demagnetized. So like I couldn't have my phone in my pocket because it would pick it up on the sensors. But yeah, that's basically it.
Because of the uneven nature of the ground, the magnetometer must be calibrated to work in all planes. You could interpret this as a choreographed dance for two. Hannah is now explaining the workings of a ground-penetrating radar machine, which will be used alongside the magnetometer in the survey.
Oh, it's doing something. This is just like a joystick, you can just kind of turn it. And then you press the middle button on 2D project, and it'll come up with this blank screen. And once you hit new, it'll start. And then basically it's literally just about pushing it. If you want to walk with me for a sec. And then this is our raw data coming in, which is pretty cool.
After pegging out the site area, Alex makes a start on a traverse for the survey.
I'm just conferring with my office here on the data we've collected so far, and they're double checking everything back there to make sure it's as good as it can be when it comes to getting back and processing everything there.
It is important to stress that what may look like walking up and down with a glorified lawnmower is in fact a detailed scientific process and one that produces valuable results.
Used our magnetometer and we traversed over here up and down at 2-meter traverses. So our sensors were 50 centimeters apart, which should give us a nice detailed look at the subsurface to about 1 meter or 1.5 meters. And once we do this and process the raw data, it produces a grayscale image, which came out looking like this. An example of the kind of reports we produce after the survey. So we'll go back, and our team back at the office will create these reports, and we create figures. So that's an example of the grayscale images we'll get, and we can superimpose kind of our interpretation over things like LiDAR data, and we'll include them in our figures. We'll put it over things like historical maps.
A member of the team from York Archaeology is informing our visitors about archaeological artefacts that have been discovered locally over the years.
770 odd thousand years ago. So it's a mammoth tooth. These were found at a quarry in Blidworth Bottoms, just south of Derbyshire.
Yeah.
So it's quite heavy. It was originally one. It was originally one, so it fits together.
Wow.
This. It would have been heavy, but it's effectively mineralised over time, so that's why it's so heavy. It always looks like most people gravitated towards the river valleys, which they would have done for water.
Well, they would, of course,
but it's also, there's so much aggregate quarrying, so you have the opportunity to find stuff. So do you know what I mean? So it looks like there's a lot more going on in the river valley, but it's also because with the quarries there. But this is green glazed pottery. This is very quintessential high medieval pottery. So this is what would be a real good clue. That normally on a medieval site, especially a manorial site, you'd find this, which is nice. You can see where it's been.
A member of the Kirkby group carefully supervised by Anna, has a go with a ground-penetrating radar machine. He seems to have got the hang of it, but even history must stop for a cup of tea. However, there's no doubt that this local resident is not very interested.
We always thought that was part of the castle.
We think it could be.
Dennis continues to explain ideas with local residents.
Some of the old plans that we've got from the Ordnance Survey maps, that actually does show it as being part of the castle.
Right.
So it could be that the castle itself stretched down across the side.
Yes.
And then came across roughly to where we're standing maybe, and then just joined its corner onto that, and then the tower would have been in the corner.
A small tower onto that.
That's right,
Yeah,
that's what we're thinking.
It's fantastic, it is fascinating, yeah.
It is, it's interesting.
An area of the survey excites some interest from Society President Trevor.
One of the problems with this site is that there's really nothing to be seen above ground, which is the reason we've set it up to look beneath the ground using different forms of technology. But someone came to the site yesterday and they said that they remembered as a child a little bit of stonework that was then protruding out of the ground. And we came to have a look, and lo and behold, we found this small piece of stonework which looked interesting and of uncertain date, unfortunately, but it's here and something that we can be looking at and see whether it might be ancient or whether it's more modern. So we came down and we rediscovered this little bit of stone here. We don't know how deep it is, we don't know what it is, but it's clearly of some age. The piece of brick here suggests it may not be medieval, because that wouldn't be a regular part of structures in those days. So it may be very much more modern than that. But it's been useful to us to find evidence of perhaps walling at this end of the site, which is its natural conclusion as you come off the plateau which the main building would have been on.
Recent observations have concluded that the brick is in fact local Mansfield sandstone, and that the sloped area may possibly be part of the south wall of the castle. Now it has been decided to make a further exploration of the site near to a small hillock, which legend has suggested that there may have been a tower. Our team of experts carry out a few more traverses looking for evidence of the legendary tower. Dennis Hill sums up what has undoubtedly been a highly successful project.
Well, this has proven to be quite exciting. We've been here 4 days now on the site and carrying out all the various surveys, and those surveys have been provisionally analysed. And yes, it's exciting. We've found foundations of buildings, maybe not the full amount of foundations, but there's been enough found that's going to give us an idea of what once stood here on the site. So once the analysis has been finalised back at the office, we should be able to see whether we had a big castle here or whether it was a manor house or a motte and bailey, and we should be able to put an end to what all the different thoughts and ideas have been over the years, and we'll be able to see once and for all what once stood here.
hamlet of Kirkby has always stood outside the boundaries of Sherwood Forest. We can see how the area of the castle site looked in 1630 by combining maps from the old Welbeck Atlas and superimposing them over an 1888 Ordnance Survey map. From the bird's eye view, we can clearly see St Wilfrid's Church and the area under investigation. The raised area of the site can clearly be seen, possibly showing its defensive position. Thanks to the work and effort of Hannah, Alex and our volunteers, we were able to obtain some excellent results from both the magnetometry and the ground penetrating radar surveys, but they were not easy to interpret.
Hello.
The whole survey area under investigation is notated here. Here we have some results of a magnetometer survey and some examples of the ground penetrating radar interpretation of the site. The ground penetrating radar results show slices of the area at different depths and reveal artifacts of built structures, such as foundations and remains of walls. As we progress through the slides, we can see the shape of a structure emerging. By combining information from the magnetometry and the ground penetrating radar results, we can get an idea of the layout of the building. Experts have strongly suggested that we are looking at an open space courtyard castle with buildings constructed inside and outside the main walls. The main building would have been about 110 feet or 33.5 metres at its widest, east to west, and 130 feet or 39.6 metres north to south, with a possibility of a tower at the southwest corner. Other structures within or outside the courtyard would have included kitchen, stores and stables. This is what the layout of Kirkby Castle may have looked like on our bird's eye view. And two artistic impressions of the external features of Kirkby Castle viewed from the southern aspect.